No, you have gotten me way too excited for all these move cards that come out, and every time they're just okay. Not buying it this time. Also, what is that character? Is that the Gimp? What are we doing here? No, not this week. Actually, no, I think about it. Zorn does seem kind of cool. Hey, come back for a second. Let me read.
Is it worth it?
What's going on, nerds? Get your leather paddles and whips and whatever the hell that weird human condom thing with the breathing apparatus.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know what I'm saying. It's time to read the card. Zorn is a 2 energy, 3 power card that says after any 3 or 4 cost card is played here, move it to another location. Overall impressions of Zorn. It says move on it, put it on a move deck. Meh, meh, meh. Actually, some people have rightly pointed out that this is probably going to end up being more of a weird disruption card, sort of like reverse Magneto, than it is like a straight move card. Now, that's not to say that some types of move decks, probably the more standard move deck, could use this. The intro really wasn't a joke. And it wasn't funny either, idiot. A lot of cards that come out that you're like, oh, this has got to be the thing that makes all variations of move decks like really super duper good, and they never really do it, at least not since Madam What. I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic about this one, cautiously optimistic, skeptically optimistic. What do you guys think? We got a Z Minor here saying anytime you can add a worse form of Madame Web to your move deck, you gotta do it. Excuse me, do you think you're better than me? No. No, I'm not. Okay, you can be in the deck. Come on. Got Dan Friedman, 81, saying a 2/3 that does something disruptive is usually good. Yeah. This is good for Vulture, good for Clog, good for Hydra Stomper. Probably just a good card. I agree. Got Fernet saying literally anti-Magneto. More tools for Scream.
Can I copy your homework?
Yeah, just don't make it obvious, alright? Got Godzilla the King Kong Bane saying he can semi-counter Wong setup if the opponent is trying to Wong and then Mystique. I know he will for sure be annoying to face more than people think. He will be frustrating to play into unless you are playing move. Real quick, gotta say that first sentence, way too niche to matter whatsoever. Second part here, I totally agree. This card's basically gonna be that kid in the back of the bus on Forrest Gump.
Can't sit here.
We got Burnock saying Zorn looks like he walked out of a Hot Topic with a philosophy degree and a vendetta against board stability. Get out. Finally, we got Mr. Ranchero saying disappointing for a guy that makes black holes. Didn't know he could do that. Feels like a flop. Doesn't deal with moves predictably and counterplay. We didn't need a higher ceiling. We need a higher floor. No joke here. I just wanted to point out that this last sentence is a fantastic point. And not just for this card, for like a lot of cards in Marvel Snap that usually the cards people get really excited for are cards that like seem like crazy combo pieces, or cards that see like they're going to break open an archetype. And you know what the problem with all those are? Those archetypes didn't need a higher ceiling. They needed a higher floor. All right, on to the good and the bad. First thing we got here in the good section, good cost for effect. It's 2 energy. It annoys the opponent. Generally good. Before we had a lot of cards in Marvel Snap, a 2/2 Scorpion was like the premier 2-drop. It got buffed to 2/3, and now it's being played, you know, not quite a bit, but it's a very good card in the decks that he's good in. Second point here, messes with the opponents as much as it helps you. Usually cards that, you know, do stuff for, like for everyone, generally like hurt you as well as the opponent, and you mitigate that less than the opponent. But I feel like if you're playing Zorn, you're taking advantage of it. And if the opponent is going to be annoyed by this card, then it's a one-edged sword, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. And the third thing here, always does the thing. A lot of cards that have effects that are disruptive or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they don't do the thing because of cards like Cosmo or Rogue or Red Guardian. Or maybe the opponent doesn't have cards that really care about the thing you're doing. Like if you're playing a Ajax deck and the opponent has a Luke Cage, you can't stop it. Your deck is not doing the thing. But this card is not ongoing. It's not nothing. Like, who's gonna waste a Red Guardian on this? Maybe if it ends up being that annoying. But anyways, my point is that no matter what, this thing's doing what you put it in your deck to do. I think this card does have a little bit higher of a floor than the earlier commenter said. On to the bad. Always does the thing. Sometimes you're going to want to not use this. Sometimes you're going to be like, oh, it is kind of annoying for me too. And there's no way to stop it. It's like Topaz. If you guys have played with Topaz, when it's good for you, it's super duper good. And you're like, dude, this card just does the thing every turn and it's sick. And then the next game you'll play it and you're like, I really wish it wouldn't move this card right now. So yeah, I feel like Zorn's going to be like Topaz, but overall Zorn's just a better card, so maybe not as harsh. And then the other bad part of Zorn is, what are you replacing in move decks and, let's say, scream decks? What are you replacing in those decks? Those decks don't really have a lot of space anymore. So in like a regular move, what are you kicking? Doctor Strange? I can get behind that. But like, you know, this deck's, it's a tight deck. And then in scream decks, 2-drop, maybe you make scream decks like smaller, like you take out some of the more expensive stuff and you make it smaller for Zorn. I don't know, but maybe this isn't as bad of a downside that I'm thinking of right now, because we haven't actually got our hands on the card and played it yet. But I feel like even if Zorn is like okay and you want to play it, I feel like what you're going to be cutting for Zorn maybe isn't the best decision. But we'll find out in a couple of days or a day or whenever it is I actually put this out. All right, example deck section. I just made a move deck and a scream deck where I think most people are going to try to play this card, and where I think we're really going to be able to tell if his effect is as annoying as it seems or as beneficial as it seems. But yeah, the first one here is a scream deck. What I was saying is, like, what do we kick? And maybe you take out some of the smaller cards to put Zorn in. And we removed Miles Morales and put Zorn in, and Arrow. This deck usually runs Arrow. You take that out and you put in like Silk to help out your Craven and your Batroc and stuff like that. Maybe Kingpin is the cut. I'm not sure. I kind of always felt like if you're forcing opponents' cards to move places, you should probably be running Kingpin, not just because it dings them for 2 power, but because it kind of dictates where the opponent wants to play and fill up their locations first, which then lets you know where you should be playing your other cards, which I think is like an unnoticed benefit of Kingpin. And then the second deck here is a tempo deck. The deck I think that will use Zorn the best outside of Scream type stuff. Try to make this with like a straight move deck. And like I said earlier, you're going to be like, all these cards like move stuff really well already. I don't know if I need Zorn. So we're still using his move ability for us, not really as disruption. And we're playing it with some cards: Gwenpool, Galacta, Redwing, Elsa, Hydra Stomper. You're just giving +1 to Hydra Stompers. You can get the buff from Elsa Bloodstone, move it out of the location. Not bad. Redwing? Redwing? And since we're using Redwing, we don't have to do like Surge and Zabu and all that bullshit. We can just play the cards that do what the deck wants to do. We don't have to reduce the cost of stuff and waste time. So yeah, I'm definitely going to give this second deck a shot. All right, on to my recommendation. All those words, what do they actually mean? Well, for packs, I would say if you're close to collection complete, probably. Like if you're missing like 5 or less cards, you might as well pick up Zorn. But if you're missing like 10 or 12 cards, I would wait until maybe you've got some other cards that you want more. I don't think the 6 or 5k tokens is just going to be outright worth it for Zorn. Now, as far as tokens, Scream diehards, Craven diehards, maybe. And I don't want to say yes at all on Zorn, because there is a chance that this is just like not as annoying as he seems and not as beneficial as it seems. We have to play with the card before we figure that out. So I can't really recommend getting this card with tokens unless you play like Silk type tempo decks or Scream decks or like location control decks a lot more than other people. Nick, that is the video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Human condom thing with the breathing apparatus. I don't know what I'm saying.